All right, well, I will, call this, public hearing to order. This is the Community Development Block Grant Program Year 49, public hearing. We're meeting in the Old Town Hall in the second floor conference room and also via Zoom. I don't see anyone joining us online, but we are tape recording this hearing. Um, Time is now 6:02, and for the record, my name is Mark Barnhart. I'm the Director of Community Economic Development. I'm joined by Sonia Hine, who is the grants coordinator for the town.
Hello.
Minister of the Community Development Block Grant, which is federal dollars on behalf of the town. Make sure that we use the funds appropriately in accordance with all the rules and regulations.
Yes.
So this is the second of two public hearings that we do to solicit public input on our proposed Community Development Block Grant Program and allocations under the program. This is a federal program. The town's been an entitlement community, meaning that we get a small slice of the federal pie each year without needing to apply competitively for that. So by virtue of its population and other characteristics, we do receive federal dollars directly from Department of Housing and Urban Development through the budget allocation process. There is a lot of flexibility in terms of how we utilize those dollars, but they do need to meet certain criteria. Most important of which is it needs to meet one of three national objectives, and in most cases, the one that applies to communities like Fairfield is that we need to show that it provides a benefit, demonstrable benefit to persons or areas of low to moderate income. There are two other categories. One is to meet an urgent need as well as to eliminate slums and blight, but those typically don't apply here. Urgent need is typically in the federal jargon or vernacular. It's usually in response to a natural or man-made disaster, so it's something that's very temporary in nature. So the town's been a participant in this program since its inception. It was authorized in 1974. As I mentioned, it's administered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We have to prepare a 5-year consolidated plan that looks at the community needs, both in terms of housing and other community development needs, with an eye towards how we're going to help those that are most disadvantaged, folks that are low to moderate income or areas of low to moderate. And then once we meet that test, then we also have to look to make sure that the proposed use of the funds are eligible for federal dollars, and there are some activities that are specifically ineligible. But again, within that broad framework, there's some flexibility in terms of how we address what we perceive to be the high priority community development and affordable housing needs. So we've done that 5-year plan, then we've produced an annual plan each year that talks about how we're going to actually use those funds to meet the goals in the 5-year plan. And so we're in this process now. Again, we solicited applications back in right after the first of the year, and they were due in, I believe, March. And then we had public hearing preceding the applications that came in, and now we're in the process of reviewing them and then making some recommendations to the various boards that then have to approve the funding.
Is it too late to apply
Yes, yes it is.
for this year?
But you can't apply as an individual anyway. These are broad categories. We do have programs that serve individuals. For example, the town has a single-family rehab program, or homeownership assistance program, or handyman program, all in the area of housing. In economic development, we provide micro-enterprise grants using some of these federal dollars for small business startups that meet these criteria. So, individuals can apply, just not at this juncture. Or businesses, individuals or businesses. These are really, we do have organizations that fall under the category of public service activities. So there also is this requirement that we cannot allocate more than 15% of the grant to public service activities, which are nonprofit organizations or municipal departments that meet one of these community development needs. And 20%, we can't allocate more than 20% of our funding program administration costs. The rest we can allocate as we choose between community development and affordable. This year, we're gonna see a reduction in funding. Unfortunately, it's been relatively level. It's been between $450,000 and $500,000 for the last 10 years. We were over $500,000 this past year. It's dipping down below $500,000 for fiscal '23, which is the programming that begins October 1st. Herb Limecooler has joined us from Affordable Housing. And we can also supplement those funds with some program income. So some of the monies we allocate into the program are in the form of loans, special program loans, and when they get repaid, we're able to then reallocate those dollars to other needs. So that's largely it. In terms of schedule, we're having this second public hearing now. We'll again take input or feedback from all of you. There is a opportunity for people to submit written comments as well. And then we'll present to the Board of Selectmen beginning in June, and then to the RTM for their final approval at their monthly meeting in June. And then we'll have to prepare our annual action plan and submit that to HUD in August. The program year begins October and runs through September. So that's just a broad overview. I apologize, I should have gone around the room and introduced because I recognize folks, but I'll start with Matthew. Matthew, you want to introduce yourself for the record?
Sure. My name is Matthew Halleck. I've long to raise my family here in Fairfield, lived here over 25 years. Had my business, The Voice Marketing Communications, over on Tunxus Hill, over a building there for many, many years. Work at home now, and always been involved and aware. I kind of represent an organization like Citizens, the people of Fairfield, and just and looking what's best for Fairfield as we move forward. I think that's right.
Sonia,
I'm,
Sorry.
okay.
You are.
I am the grants coordinator for the town of Fairfield. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Carrie Ostro. I'm the Chief Behavioral Health Officer for LifeBridge Community Services. We run Fairfield Counseling Center right around the corner. About 5 or 6 Fairfield residents a year. Outpatient services. 150 to under the HUD guidelines. That we're around to keep healthy and in their homes.
Thank you. Herb?
Herb Limecooler. I'm a member of the Affordable Housing Committee in town, and also Fairfield Senior Advocates, which is a policy development advocacy group that works locally and in Hartford. Good to see everybody. Good to meet everybody.
Okay. So there is a handout. I don't know, Herb, if you got it, but I think Matt and Matthew and Carrie got it. But this is our breakdown, adhering to those general requirements, not more than 15% towards public service activities, 20% to program administration. Again, we're anticipating, we're getting a reduction in federal dollars, so the federal funds are $492,327. We were estimating program income of $44,673 for a total of $537. If we fall short of that, we're most of the way there in terms of program income received thus far. We would have to make some further reductions, probably in terms of some of the activities that we directly administer. So you can see the categories. Public service is 15%. They fund a lot of, familiar nonprofit organizations that provide much needed services to the community. We also have the program administration largely funds Sonia's work. And then the rest is really split between what are considered affordable housing and public facilities, non-housing needs. We have in the past financed street sidewalk improvements, particularly in eligible census tract areas of town. As mentioned, the Small Business Assistance Program, we receive a small amount of money there, which we use to provide small business grants to eligible micro enterprises. And we're also proposing this year to help Connecticut Audubon create an accessible pathway at the Birdcraft Museum. Housing activities are, again, programs that we administer through our office. We have a rehab program that provides funds for both owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied properties here in town. We have a handyman program that provides, basically, we pay the cost of up to 8 hours of a handyman to perform small repairs or minor maintenance around the owner-occupied home, for very low income, predominantly seniors. And then we have our home ownership assistance where we provide up to 50 down payment assistance up to a max of $30,000 to help people buy their first home, which is, as everyone in this room knows, is a pretty expensive proposition here locally. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to take questions or go around the room and let folks comment. And Matthew, you may have some other thoughts in terms of just general community needs. Carrie and I were talking before the meeting started about some of the needs he's seeing from a behavioral, mental health standpoint, but really the floor is open at this point. If you ask questions.
I was asking about the timing, I was thinking more different programs and initiatives, larger than these like micro grants.
Yep.
Like sort of, things that, you know, fit with the town's overall plan and vision and things like that.
Such as?
Preserving that outdoors and natural space.
Open
That's
space
our ability,
acquisition. Yep.
But I realize it's tough anything I talk about now, like you said, would be like for next year anyway. And I don't even know if what I have in mind and the things I do would apply for.
Well, what's important is...
But it is good to know you, because you apply for all the grants and there's a lot of them.
Well, we have actually a person that actually goes out and seeks competitive grants.
Right.
Terry
Brown.
So this is enough, you know, keep Sonia busy, just in administering
full-time job.
the small federal dollars and
Just
run
this
these
one?
programs.
Just this program?
No, yeah, just this one.
Yeah, the federal dollars and then the 4 programs I mentioned.
Right.
That directly administer, provide staff support to the office. But that said, you know, we're always interested to hear feedback from folks as to the community development needs. I mean, there are other funding sources like open space. I know Tim Bishop, the conservation director, has, you know, worked with Connecticut Audubon or some of the trust, as well as funds available through the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, Energy and Environmental Protection now. So there are monies available for open space acquisition. So if you do see things like that, that's part of the
definitely
thought
looking at
process.
that. You know, I mean, like, especially with this program, I mean, this is like kind of tough for Fairfield, right? Because it's like low-income housing, you know, like, there's not
It really has to, yeah.
That doesn't really exist.
The issue
there's not
that,
too many places.
right. We don't really have, thankfully, much in the way of slums and blight.
Right.
I mean, to the extent that there's any blight, it's spot blight. It's a specific single property, not an entire neighborhood that's suffering urban decay.
Thankfully.
So really, you know, most of the activities we fund through this program have to show where it benefits or provides assistance to persons or areas of low to moderate income. That's, you know, seniors are presumed to be low to moderate income. Folks with disabilities are presumed to be low moderate, so we don't have to collect, you know, their tax
What,
returns.
the senior citizens?
Senior
They're actually the most
citizens.
affluent demo.
Sometimes, some of our programs.
No, senior citizens.
I understand.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of seniors who are just really struggling, so.
Yeah, there's some folks that are, you know, we can, you know, clearly if folks are applying for handyman, they live in $1 million house, you know, we
Right.
So,
Definitely
but
not.
there are a lot of people that are asset rich and cash poor, so sometimes that becomes an issue. And a lot of our programs, as I mentioned, the rehab program, for example, is a loan program, so they are repaid, and then we can loan it out to somebody else, you know. It's a good point. These are, when I say flexible, they are restricted.
Yes.
They're flexible,
There's
as
some
flexible as the federal
flexibility.
government gets, but they do create there's a lot of strings attached. With any state, you know, as you go up the ladder, there are more strings and
Yeah.
conditions of funds. And so, you know, it's helpful. It would be nice if we were a little bit more with it, but it is what it is. That's it. So, other needs that you're seeing, Matthew, besides open space? And then I'll, Carrie.
No, go ahead, let them talk, I mean,
Carrie, would you like to say anything for the record?
Well, there's definitely a growing need for behavioral health services. We all know this, and seniors and young kids are our two top growing populations. And for this year at least, seniors who are on Medicare, often don't have access to behavioral health services because the plans are very restrictive. Starting next year, Medicare is opening up so that they'll be able to get more providers, but for this year, we end up seeing a lot of people for free. So anything that can help us stay relevant is really appreciated. So we think that's happening. Because we have a steady group of probably about 75 to 100 older adults that we see.
Herb, anything you'd like to share from your perspective with your multiple hats that you wear?
Well, I just would say, you know, when we first started Fairfield Senior Advocates, I mean, I think we were thinking we could really help from a financial standpoint in terms of keeping seniors, because seniors help to fund
Keep
so
them
much.
housed.
Exactly,
Okay.
because they don't use our schools and whatnot. But I think our involvement has really opened our eyes to something I think you see all the time, Matthew, and that's the fact that this is a very heterogeneous town.
Mhm.
And we do have a lot of people that are on the economic margin. And,
More than you think sometimes.
yeah, it's really eye-opening. And, the need's definitely out there, definitely out there.
For what, for like seniors to stay in town and to live in Fairfield?
Well, I think the need is out there just for people that need social services. And, you know, keeping people here is really a struggle from a housing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a lot of people, I think, who look at this as the house, as this is my ticket to, you know, something I can leave to my kids or something I can use to fund my retirement. And, we had a lot of senior loss during the pandemic. But we spent a good bit of time in Hartford in terms of lobbying for programs for indigent seniors, low income seniors. And it's just really eye-opening in terms of what the need is statewide. And certainly we've got people here that are in the same category. And I think just some exposure at the Bigelow Center, meeting with folks there, has really been an eye-opener for us and would be for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, Fairfield, the needs aren't as severe as perhaps some other communities, but even if you take, you know, population that is below poverty level, and you look at a town the size of Fairfield, which is 60,000, significant number of the population. So, it's not relative to other communities, we're okay.
We have a lot, I mean.
We have a lot to be thankful for, but there are folks that do live at the margins, and that's why some of these programs do exist. And some of the services provided by groups like yours and Operation Hope, I know they deal with folks with, you know, food insecurity issues as well as homelessness. You know, there are neighbors that are struggling, definitely. So,
And our senior disabled tax relief program, I mean, budget's about roughly $4 million a year in terms of property tax relief for largely low-income seniors. And, we could spend a lot more. We could spend a lot more in terms of people who are struggling and could make use of it.
So the only other thing I will mention is that we also, in some of, I don't know if Cary LifeBridge takes advantage of it, I don't remember seeing it, but we also, our office administers the Neighborhood Assistance Act, which is a state program that provides tax credit to companies that make donations to eligible nonprofits and municipal agencies that are doing this type of good work. And, municipal departments and nonprofits have to apply and be accepted into the program, both by the town that's hosting them as well as the Department of Revenue Services. And then if companies make a charitable gift, they can then apply to the state to get a tax, corporate tax liability. So it's a very, again, niche program, but we have a number of companies locally. I know Santa Fuel, Bigelow Tea, a number of companies do participate in the program. Real win-win. It helps reduce their tax liability to some degree and also provides some funding for some of these organizations doing work in the community. I mention that because we'll be doing a public hearing on the applications we did receive under that program too, following a very similar timetable in terms of getting it before the boards in June, because we have to submit it to Department of Revenue Services. Any other thoughts or comments? Matthew, we can grab a coffee, or if you have other thoughts or ideas,
Yeah,
happy to.
that sounds
happy
great.
to have that conversation. And, go around once, but, anyone else have anything to say? Barry, or?
I think, these programs are great, they're fantastic to take care of it, dealing on a micro level where every few $1,000s helps, for you and your thing, and count on that.
It's really a micro level.
It makes it, yeah, I know, it's kind of like,
If we could have more, we could have.
$192,000
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
$49 million there, or $1 billion to build a bridge or whatever,
Right.
but that's beside the point. And I'm really thinking in terms of, as we move forward and stuff, you'll probably see a lot more of me in in preserving Fairfield and big picture kind of stuff. And what do we do for how's it gonna look in 5 years or 75 years? And what's going on with Fairfield? And how do we address some of these systemic issues that we're facing in Fairfield? And I do think, I'll just put it, I guess a teaser or whatever, there is an idea I have, or I've been thinking about, actually working on, a plan I've been working on, a program I've been working on, and I think this might apply to all this criteria you were talking about, which is low-income housing, the urgent need, eliminating blight, and some of the things in affordable homes. I prefer to say homes versus houses.
Mm-hmm.
We all need a home. And housing, I feel like, we're gonna house these people. It's not cattle. It's and when you have a home, that's the hallmark of the middle class. The big, home ownership, right? Access to free education, and usually a domestic partner, or some sort of unit. Those are the three things. The home is by far the most important thing. So if we can create, to me, affordable homes, and, that's the long-term stability relationship you're in, whether it's lower middle class, it doesn't matter. Believe me, for a lot of people, that's paradise. the most, that's how, I would like to work with Fairfield moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll adjourn the public hearing, at 6:26, and thank you all for, taking time out of your schedules to share your thoughts with us today.